What's up, everybody? Looks like we are live finally. Had some little technical difficulties, but I am Simon. This is my new podcast slash YouTube channel slash Instagram where we talk nothing but boxing. Follow me on IG, Super Torres 1. And this YouTube channel, we're also streaming on Facebook. But this channel is mainly for boxing, just to spread the knowledge. Some may or may not know. Also to acquire knowledge. When people start interacting, feed some knowledge that you want. I know boxing seems to have a stigma of, no, don't share your secrets and stuff. But this isn't that kind of place. I boxed for about 10 years. Worked full time, boxed full time, trained pretty hard, morning, night, gave up pretty much. A lot of sacrifices were made. I thought the sport, I was done with it, but it just keeps coming back, keeps finding its way, reaching out to me. So like, follow, subscribe, comment. What's up, Catch and Release? That's my cousin, DAV. Yep, I got the Raider gear. Yeah, after the Chiefs and 49er game, they had to go ahead and leave town now. Leave it to the Raiders. So yeah, my quick little introduction. Now boxing seemed to reach back out to me. It's like that love that always keeps coming back. And I grew up playing baseball, and that was my first love. And then once I started boxing, made other sports seem not so interesting. So yeah, it kind of ruined my love for other sports. But we're here today, and we're here to talk about lifting weights and boxing. That's today's subject. So shout out to my coach out of San Diego, Dale Soliven. He ended up having a private client he had to take. Dale showed me a lot in how to use weights to your advantage as a boxer. So his method was to build a fighter's strength with weights, of course, using explosive movements early in camp, and then riding the wave of that strength throughout your camp. That way you still maintain all your proper movements and stuff like that. So that's just a quick touch on that. Also, this shout out to Armando, who he's running this live stream for me right now, and he'll probably join me in a few seconds. He's the one, if you guys have seen me in the suit as a announcer slash broadcaster, he had reached out to me as a fighter and asked if I wanted to do some broadcasting. And I was like, yeah, I'll try it. Why not? And so he's here. He's also going to join me, and we're going to talk about the boxing business. He's pretty familiar. He's told me a few things that I didn't know of. He's pretty familiar. He's very much for the fighters. He's the one who helped provide a platform so fighters who weren't so big can get on TV. And, there was a few times where, what I'm told, there was so many millions of households that would have it, 17 to 20 states, maybe more. But at that time, that's what it was. So when Armando's ready to jump in, feel free. And let me see any comment. There's Armando.
How's it going? How's it going,
What's
Simon?
up, Armando?
Oh, you know what? I I'm glad you got back into boxing. I saw that you were
Good, good, man. So give us a little background of you.
I've been in boxing since. I mean, I fell in love with boxing when I was a little kid with my dad. I'm damn near 50. And so I used to watch back in the 80s Sugar Ray Leonard fight on ABC Wide World of
You're
Sports,
like
and I
30,
fell in.
you're like 35, man.
Yo, oh well, thanks, appreciate it. But yeah, I did. In 2008, into 2007, Top Rank wanted me to come in and work with them. One of the guys in there who I was a friend was friends with um, wanted me to come in, and unfortunately, I just couldn't get in because I was busy at the time. But eventually, in 2008, I got into Top Rank, and at the time, Top Rank
Nice.
was working with HBO to do all of their post production, all of their any posters that you saw. But they were charging them a ridiculous amount of money. So the pitch was that we would come in and do it for a lot less. And so that's how I got my foot in the door at Top Rank. And then we were the ones that created. We were the first company outside of NBC. Sunday Night Football to actually do live streaming. So we were the first live streaming in combat sports, and basically myself and the team that we put together
Oh, wow.
helped build live streaming for sports. Nobody had done it to that point because it was difficult to do. We had to form partnerships with a bunch of different companies in order to live stream. I mean, we were actually live streaming from a satellite truck, which is now, I mean, now you can do it from your cell phone. We had a massive satellite truck, and in order to get the signal out, and encoders, and it was good times because it was all new territory. We were doing new things. So yeah, I got to know the business. I was under Bob Arum, and I was unbelievably
Man.
blessed to learn from one of the greatest trainer or the greatest promoters of all time.
Wow,
And a lot of times I was just a fly on the wall because
man.
I didn't come at it from the boxing side. I came at it from the production side. Yet I was surrounded by Hall of Fame matchmakers, Hall of Fame promoter. I mean, everyone at Top Rank, I think, is in the Hall of Fame now. At least all the top guys there. And so I was just a sponge. I always kept my mouth shut and just absorbed information and learned a ton about the business, a lot about the business I didn't know when I
Yeah.
went in there, and was really surprised at how interesting and how unique boxing, the business of boxing is, and realizing that most people don't understand. And I've seen multimillionaires come in thinking that they could change boxing, and they just get their, they leave with their tail between their legs and losing a lot of money because it's such a unique sport as far as the business side of boxing goes.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. So
Hey,
anyway,
so tell me one thing, Armando.
yeah.
So under the big lights and stuff, how did it feel right before something was gonna go on the air, and it was go time? And to me, I'm just you telling me this is giving me like flashback fight, jitters, like it's about to go for real. Did you when you first started, was it like that? Did you get like a little bit of butterflies and excitement, but at the same time, kind of nervous, but you knew what you were doing? How did that feel?
Uh it was like nothing I'd ever experienced. So I came in at Manny Pacquiao's height. So I came in, my first fight working with Top Rank was Pacquiao Hatton. So my first fight ringside was Pacquiao Cotto. And so
Wow.
to be in an arena with 16,000 plus people screaming their heads off, there's nothing. I mean, I've been to football games, basketball games, baseball games. I've been to every. I mean, like most people, you go to professional sports stadiums all the time. I've never experienced anything like boxing because of the intensity of it and the fact that it can end at any second, right? And it oftentimes does.
Man.
And to come into it at Pacquiao's height, and to go through the whole build up for Mayweather, and to be there ringside for Mayweather, Pacquiao, and I've been ringside for some of the biggest fights in the history of boxing, and certainly the biggest moneymaker fights. And I'm blessed. Like I was just in the right place at the right time, and was able to contribute and do my part to get to that place where I could be there. And so I came in at the top level of the sport, and I look back at that time very fondly because it was special. It was special to see Pacquiao and to be there and to be in the Wild Card boxing gym when he's training, and to fly all over the world with him. Manny is a once in a lifetime fighter, and
that's history, man.
Yeah, it was special. It was special. I got goosebumps. I get goosebumps just thinking about like just the events that I've been a part of and was able to contribute to.
Yes.
It was pretty amazing. It was actually an amazing time. Certainly. I fell in love with the sport even more because of that, for sure. So, but yeah,
seeing it firsthand like that, I had never got a glimpse of that greatness.
Yeah, when I left Top Rank to start Global Sport. What's that? Oh no, you cut off. What I didn't. No,
I was just gonna say. Yeah, what I was gonna say was to see it from that close. Did it seem like surreal, or did it seem like, man, this is just they have these extreme talents, but at the same time they're human as well, right?
Oh yeah, they're certainly human, that's for sure. Well, I mean, when they're in the ring, like, Manny Pacquiao's like 5'6.5" on a good day. No, he's like, I think he's like 5'8". I think that's what he's registered as. But to see them and to stand by them, and like to stand next to Miguel Cotto, he's not that big. I mean, I'm 6'1". I'm much taller than they are. But when they're up in the ring, it's like you're watching this god. They're just like, there's this aura, and then everybody's screaming in the arena, and then they have these massive, like, Top Rank. If you go to a boxing event, if you've never been to one, like to a bigger event, I would suggest go to a Top Rank event. And yes, I'm biased because I work for them, but I've also been to PBC events. I've been to Golden Boy events. I've been to other promoters. When I left Top Rank, I was working for Fox Sports as a producer, so I've been to a lot of different. I was at Mayweather, McGregor. So I've been to other big promoters' fights, but nobody does in arena experience like Top Rank. Like with the lighting, like the extra expense that they spend on the lighting, the DJ, the walk-in. I don't know if anybody. I mean, the Teofimo fight that just happened. The fight wasn't that great. The walk-in was better than the fight, and that's kind of what they do. They make it Todd DeBuff, the president of Top Rank. He always wanted to make the arena feel like a club, and he did.
I got that feel.
Yeah, and that was
I've been to, so out here there's Jose Ramirez.
Oh yeah.
So out here, Jose Ramirez is pretty big, and he sells out the Safe Mart Center, and he's with Top Rank. So in Fresno, I've been to those fights, and you're 100% right. I was able to get the opportunity to work a corner, and actually get up in the ring under the lights, not as a fighter, but as a second corner man. But I definitely, it's very professional, and that's what it's all about with them. They definitely put the quality into it. Nowadays, certain, I don't really say no names, but certain things are, not the quality, definitely not close to Top Rank. But I mean, I can't knock them. They're better than me. So my internet cuts out sometimes right now, but we're getting there. Baby steps.
Well, you should have seen You should have seen the very first live stream that we did. It was so before live, like nowadays everybody's used to watching the undercards, whether it be UFC or boxing on ESPN. You watch the undercards, so you're watching guys who are fighting their debut fights, and or with less than 10 fights and stuff like that. All the undercard guys pre 2000. Let's see, we streamed in 2008, so pre 2008, nobody saw the undercards unless you were at the arena. They didn't even put cameras on them. Like the HBO. So if HBO back in the day, say, there was HBO and Showtime, that was pretty much it, right? So HBO paid for a certain amount of fights. So if you had 10 fights on the card, at max on a normal championship boxing, they'll pay for 2, maybe 3, right? But you have 7, 8 more fights card. Nobody would see those fights. And so our goal was to let everybody see the development of the fighters through streaming. So HBO would come in and they would pay for the top 2 fights, and then they would have rights to those fights for a year. And then they would have rights to the full fights for a year. And then they would have promotional rights to them in perpetuity. But the undercards, they didn't care about. They would get up on the second to last undercard and they would shoot just to practice, but it would never be broadcast. And so what we did, we came in with the international truck because there's 2 broadcasts going on in the arenas. There's the terrestrial, there's a local broadcast, which is, or the US broadcast, which back then was HBO, but now DAZN or ESPN. They didn't care about the undercards, so the international truck would shoot the undercards. So the international truck is actually owned and operated, or it's rented and operated by the promoters. Everybody does this, so it's not just unique to Top Rank. So what we had to do is we had to convince them to come in and shoot. So that was step number 1, is we got the international truck to shoot all the undercards. So, and then back then we hooked up. It was LiveView was just starting out. LiveView is a remote broadcasting streaming company. They use cellular cards to do streaming, and they're used right now. They're massive company. If you're a broadcaster, use them for the Olympics, the Super Bowl. They're massive. But back then they had one encoder, and our original signal kind of looks like your to me, your internet keeps on cutting out, so you're pixelated. So we had a little 480, so it was a little square image, and the audio didn't sync properly. And it was kind of like that, like what I'm seeing you look like right now. And that was the first live stream. It wasn't very good, but we were blown away by how appreciative the fans were, because they had never seen it before. And of course, we knew we had to step up our game, which we did. We worked with LiveView. They improved their signal. They improved their distribution, the way they got the signal out, and everything got better from there. Because we knew we had something special. It's like, oh, wow, the fans really responded to this. They want to see more boxing. And so now people don't even think about it. Like, you get on, if the main event's at 8:00, the fights start at 5, people get on at 5 and watch the full card. And that's cool. But back 2008, you couldn't. And so we introduced that to boxing, and it was really cool. Even though it was like a crappy signal, you could watch it, and you could watch it for the first time. It was pretty cool. And we lost Simon. So I guess I'm gonna talk here until Simon gets back on. I guess we lost his signal. So anyway, I guess I'll keep talking here. Simon, I saw Simon was doing YouTube, and so I reached out to him. I had hired Simon to do. He fought on our cards. He actually won Knockout of the Year in like 2019 when he was fighting, and he's charismatic on camera. You could just tell. So I hired him to be a broadcaster, And so we kept in contact, and then I saw Simon was doing I saw he was doing YouTube, and so I reached out to him because I'm doing I'm helping other companies and helping individuals do live streaming. And so I wanted to help Simon out, so we reached out, and this is his first one, and he's going to iron out everything, and then eventually be able to do high quality streams. Uh, so people can talk about him. He's super knowledgeable on boxing. Obviously, from a boxer's perspective, that information is super valuable, because he has the boxer's perspective, and he really wants to help proliferate and improve the sport of boxing through a podcast. So it's a pretty cool venture, and so I offered my help to help him get off the ground. And I'm actually going to text him and see if he's going to get back on. So appreciate everybody tuning in and watching. All right, stand by. We're going to go to a picture. There you are.
There we go.
Let's hype me up. So,
oh, okay, all right. What did I miss? Yeah, I had a little bad connection, but go ahead.
No, I just kept talking. I was telling him about how I saw that you were you were doing videos on YouTube, and then I reached out and see if you wanted to live stream, because it's really effective to do live streaming to help your channel viewership. So, and I was just telling him anything I could do to help.
Yeah. So what Armando, I appreciate you. The first time I had ever spoke with you, I got a call from you. And you asked me, of course, if I thought about broadcasting, and then you had asked, why haven't you fought since the last time? And you gave me a good compliment. And as fighters, sometimes you're pretty good, but it's good to get other people's perspective. There's a lot of haters out there too. Even if a guy isn't good, I always give someone at least the credit that, hey, you're getting in the ring, man. And more than half the world won't do that. So you told me one thing too. You said, man, that night, you had a good win, a solid knockout. And you told me, you said, man, you look like the best dude on that card. And that meant a lot, because a lot of people don't see they see under the lights and stuff, and they think it's not like baseball, basketball, where you put in some work, you could play on the weekends, and you could still shine in the game. In boxing, there's no one sees you doing the road work, when it's raining and it's 5 a.m, late at night. You didn't sleep right, but you still got to run. There's a lot to it. So any little acknowledgement means a lot, even from a kid. Sometimes kids will look up to amateur boxers, or even older boxers, or professional boxers in their own gym. And, all that person has to do is, that little kid to tell you, like, just the way they look at you, like, how do you do this? How do you do it? Man, that was good. And I've always done pretty good at treating people right around me. My dad always told me, if there's kids around you, treat them good, because they're going to be men one day. And you don't want to show that you were a bad person, because, they'll see right through you. And by the time you're old, you don't want that reputation. So I've always done pretty good in that aspect, trying to lead the next generation. There's been a few guys who I've been around, and they were kids, and they're actually pro fighters right now. So I'll give a quick shout out to Daniel Morales in San Diego. I remember going to spar with Canelo, and he came with us. Shout out to Carlos Barragan too. He got me to sparring with Canelo, so we were going over there pretty often. And so we're here with man. Daniel must have been like 10, and I think he's like 7, 8, and 0 right now as a pro. And just treating the next generation, not turning them off about the sport too. You could make someone bitter from an early experience. So there he was, I mean, man, I think about that. It was like a good time, just the ride to Canelo's house in Del Mar, going through the gates to where he had already been there, but I don't know if he had met him yet. But he must have been 10 years old, and we got a little inside joke because we're driving back home, and I thought I was, of course, nothing compared to Canelo when it comes to doing it big, but I had my little drop top Beamer 645, black on black, but it's a little older model, and we're pulling up to Canelo's house, and he had fancy matte black Skyline, Porsche Panamera. He had these crazy exotic cars, and but we thought we were doing something big, and we pulled up, and we had a good experience that day. Got some good rounds with the best in the world, and
so he trains out of his
Daniel,
house
on the way home. Carlos, yeah, that's at the time he did. He had a nice house in Del Mar in a gated community, and it was in a garage, in his home, of course, big, super nice house. Garage, and they had built a gym in there. And the guy who built the gym, did all the welding. His name's Manny, and nice guy as well. And so I talked to him the other day too, good guy. And so we got this inside joke because on the way home, Carlos Barragan kept telling Daniel, he goes, "Man, Daniel, I don't think you understand what just happened. You just met Canelo." And then he's like, "No, I do understand." And then Carlos kept going, like every 20 seconds ago, "Daniel don't understand, and I don't think he understands what just happened." So now, after one of his pro fights in San Diego when I was there, he did so good. He did so good. I think it was maybe his 6th or 7th fight, and he just went off. The kid's built for it. Southpaw at that, aggressive southpaw. And I gave him a shout out. I was just like, "Man, you look good." And I go, "Man, you look real good tonight." And then he said, no, I told him, I ended up messaging him. I said, "I don't think you understand." No, I said, tell them I don't think they understand." That was our little inside joke. But treating someone who was, aspiring amateur, treating him good. Now look at, he's doing big things. I hope he does great. Another guy that I know,
is he signed?
He's a straight up good guy. His name's Lázaro Lorenzana. He actually trained with Daniel.
Yeah.
So Daniel, I believe he's kind of like a free agent right now. Yeah. Last thing I saw, he was in that sparring. It's like competitive sparring. One round, you go all out, and I think Manny Robles kind of runs it. So I believe he's a free agent though.
Oh, okay.
And another one too, who was a teenager when I was, just turning pro, debuted, did pretty good.
Yeah, your audio cut out.
All right, we're back on.
All right.
Yeah. So another guy, I was a full grown man, and the next guy that I'm going to talk about, man, this guy has so many good attributes as well. His name's They call him Lázaro Lorenzana, and his nickname is El Rey, which is the king. He was a teenager too. I want to say 15 years old, and I would treat him good, and he's just, man, it's like a good kid, and his dad. Me and his dad kind of became pretty cool friends, and I talked to him pretty often here and there. And he actually was training with Eddie Reynoso for a little while,
Oh,
and
that's
he
cool.
just got signed to.
Can you hear me? You locked up again. All right, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Um,
Yeah. This is X, I got to give Xfinity a mouthful tomorrow.
yeah. How old is your Wi-Fi router? When was the last time you had it replaced?
It probably needs to be replaced now.
Yeah, you should replace them every year. Um, Unfortunately, they don't build them to last long, and then they update the system
Oh, okay.
so that and this is for everybody at home. Update your routers if you haven't done it if it's over a year old. It's such a massive difference. Um, so yeah. Do you guys have the gig internet? Because in Vegas, um, we have the gig internet. So dude, I love it. It's so fast, and for because I do a lot of live streaming out of the house, so it's perfect for this kind of stuff. So um, but I mean, obviously we had a little
Yeah, you
little
know what?
technical.
I'm gonna definitely have to.
Yeah, definitely update it for sure. Well, I mean, everybody watching gets to see the process, right? You're doing something new, just from the little things that have to be done, whether it be the internet or just getting used to the platform. And there's a lot of things that will get you dialed in on, for sure, so you can do some cool stuff and help boxing, because it definitely needs more help.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that I realized, because I came in on the top level of the sport, and so I never saw the developmental side. And then when I left Top Rank and started working with other promoters and saw the financial struggles that other promoters went through, and not only the financial struggles that they went through, but the financial struggles that the fighters went through. I was literally blown away. I didn't expect that. I didn't realize I was ignorant when I came into it, and I didn't realize that the lower tier of the sport, and when it comes to fighters who are not signed or fighters who are under development, but not under development under a Top Rank, but under development on their own. My hat comes off to, and mad respect to guys like you and anyone that has to work a full-time job and try to be a professional fighter, because the advantage that a Top Rank or a Golden Boy fighter has, they're not they're a professional fighter. That's what they are. That's what they do, and if you're not making money, and a lot of fighters, I didn't realize how many fighters pay for fights, like pay to get fights, because they can't get fights. Like no one's going to pay them to fight, so they have to pay for their own fight. I didn't know that. I mean, it's like the sport, all of the money goes to the top 1%, and the rest starve.
Oh, for sure.
I saw like being around a lot of talent, I feel, and then being around a lot of matchmakers, and just, I was, like I said earlier, I was a sponge, right? I'd ask questions and then listen to these guys who are far more experienced than what I was, but I felt like I picked up a lot, and I was able to see like talent and ask these trainers and having access in the gym to be able to see real talent, and seeing that some of the guys who aren't signed, I always think of like Armando Tovar. His style reminded me a lot of Brandon Rios. And I'm like, if he didn't have to go, because I think he was working at NASCO, if he didn't have to go to NASCO shipyard and weld steel, build boats all day. I mean, the guy would get up in the morning, go running, work a hard labor job all day, then go to the gym. And then he had, I think at the time, 2 kids. He probably has more now, and a wife. Like, how do you do that? How do you be a professional fighter? And you have to save up money to pay for your fights, because you don't have a promoter, you don't have a manager that's giving you money or that's helping you out, right? You don't have any of that. And so I was, I developed a lot of respect for them. And then you guys have to manage all the sharks that are swimming around trying to take advantage of you, on top of the fact that you have to work all day and train and pay for your fights. It's a tough sport. And then all the guys that are doing that are in their late teens or early 20s, and are easily, they may not think it, because I remember what it was like to be in my early 20s. We talked about this. You think you know it all, and you don't know shit when it comes to you don't know much about anything. But when it comes to older men being able to take advantage of you and give you advice that you don't even know is good for you or not. And there's a lot of people in the sport of boxing like that. And I feel like there's a special place in hell for those kind of guys that take advantage of kids that don't know any better. And they sign these ridiculous contracts. Even top guys sign ridiculous contracts when they were younger, and then they try to get out of them when they're older, because they're all of a sudden making money, and they got screwed over by the contract that they signed, because they didn't know any better. That's something that there needs to be a change, and I hope that with your platform you're able to bring light to fighters and help put a spotlight on the darker sides of the sport, and being able to help change that sport, right? Or help change boxing, because it definitely needs the help, for sure.
Yeah, and I think the way it's helped is the community can do it. The boxing community can do it. If people start getting involved, like everyone's always complaining about judging and judges, and the judges. Okay, well, try to be a judge. Try to change it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's no
if it
doubt.
really bothers you that much, try to. Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes it tough too. It makes it tough too with the everyone's ability to steal fights, to steal pay-per-views. A lot of people do it. In fact, most people I know do it. And what they don't realize, I know, believe me, I get on Twitter all the time. It's something that infuriates me. The piracy that goes on, because most people think it's a victimless crime. But what they don't see is the fact that promoters are losing money, or they're barely breaking even on big fights. And yes, the fighters, I mean, it's like the fighters. So say a Canelo steps in the ring, he's asking, I think his next fight, he's asking for like 30 million or something like that. Or at least that's a rumor. Well, a promoter at, $80 a ticket or $80 a pay-per-view, I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of pay-per-view that you have to sell in order just to pay his salary. Yeah. That's not including the commission fees. That's not including the venue fees, the police. You have to pay for the police, security, the staff that you bring in, all the travel for every single fighter, the insurance. I mean, you're talking millions of dollars that you have to spend in order to do an event. And you have millions of people at $80 a pop is a significant amount of money. And I'm not talking 1 million. I'm talking globally 6, 7, 8, 9 billion people stealing these fights. And then less money is going into the sport, and we're getting less fights. A lot of people are complaining, oh, how come we don't get the fights we want? You're not getting the fights you want because the fighters can't get the money that they want from the promoters, because the promoters are being squeezed on all their other fights. And people don't realize, because it's not in their face, that the little things that they're doing and stealing the streams, it's so easy. I mean, you can get on any platform and steal it. I mean, YouTube, Facebook, you can watch them on YouTube and Facebook. Yeah, they pull them down, but you pull one down, 5 more pop back up. And so that hurts all the way down. And you think about it like, okay, yeah, it's a victimless crime. The promoters have plenty of money. Well, all the promoter fees just for that event are one thing, but they also pay for the development of all their stable, right? And then that means that they can't bring in as many fighters like at your level who were fighting to get signed, right? Well, they don't have the money. They're actually shrinking their stables because they can't afford to bring these fighters into their stables and put them under good trainers, put them into a good developmental program, because the money's not there, because 70% of their money is going towards their stars. And at the same time, that pool gets smaller because everyone is stealing it. And I always use the word stealing because that's what you're doing. You're just because you can click on a button and nobody knows you're doing it doesn't mean you're not a thief. Like $80 is $80. You're stealing it, and it's economy of scale. Everyone is saying it's okay.
That's true.
And because everyone says it's okay, oh, don't worry, it's victimless. No worry. But they don't see that the promoters are getting squeezed all the way across, and it's affecting all the guys. So less and less fighters at the bottom tier are getting signed. So we could be missing out on the next big thing because he decided, screw boxing, I'm just going to go work at a shipyard. We're missing out on those opportunities, and people don't realize that.
Yeah.
That's what's sad about the fact that nobody thinks anybody's getting harmed by it, but it is happening. And if it wasn't for Saudi Arabia, the Saudis prince paying for these big fights that are happening over there, we wouldn't be getting those fights. We would not be getting a lineal heavyweight championship right now because the money that they're asking is so ridiculously high. Not that they don't deserve it. I'm just saying it's in comparison to any other money. It's just
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
It's ridiculous money. So you have to come up with $50 million base just to pay 2 fighters. And then you have to hope that you can make money after that. The money's not there. The economics of it, because so many people are stealing, it's not there. So Saudi Arabia is coming in and filling in that gap, which is great for the top guys. But I haven't seen Saudi Arabia putting money into the lower tier of the sport yet. I haven't seen them putting money into the development of the sport. All they're doing is paying for the immediate, but not. I haven't seen any money go towards the future. And
Yeah.
until that happens, the sport of boxing will shrink in the United States, because instead of the United States being the center of boxing, it's going to shift to Saudi Arabia, and which is fine if it shifts. We're just going to have to watch boxing at 11 o'clock in the afternoon.
Just like golf.
Right. Yeah. I mean, boxing is, we grew up watching boxing at Saturday night, 8 o'clock. You're watching fights, right? But now you got to watch. So I can't even watch because I'm working. It changed now. So initially the Fury fight and Usyk fight, I was working at 11 o'clock in the afternoon, so I wouldn't have been able to watch the fight. Now I'm hoping in May when it happens, I'm off so I can actually watch it. But I mean, you got to plan your day because you're literally watching boxing during the day because they're doing it at night their time. Because I mean, I don't blame them. They want to watch it at night too, right? And they're paying for it. So if they're paying 50 million plus for fights,
Yeah.
of course they're going to put it in their time zone, not in ours. So, but less people watch it because they don't advertise here. And that's one thing that I noticed. If you're a diehard
What
boxing
about
fan,
any recent fights? What's your
what's that?
real quick, how did you feel? How did you see that fight, Teofimo versus Jermaine Ortiz last week?
I haven't watched the full fight yet. I've only seen highlights of it. I can only go off of what other people were saying.
What did you hear about it?
I mean, Teofimo, a lot of people said he lost the fight. The rounds that I saw online, it kind of looks like what's the name? Diaz was if you're gonna back away and be defensive, are you really fighting? I don't know. I think it was just bad matchmaking, and I know the matchmaker. So it just, you never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes, you hope that you know what you're gonna get when you're matchmaking, but sometimes fighters just don't want to engage. And Teo, I think he gets up for the big fights. And when they're not the big fights, he doesn't seem to get up for him. At least that's with his 2 losses, with his last win and his loss when he lost the belts after the Loma fight. That was like a big letdown, right? And I wish, that's another thing when it comes back to, not to harp on the pay-per-view things. Teo has minimums. He has fight minimums in terms of what he gets paid. And the minimums in boxing are hurting at the upper levels, because if you can't match make against the PBC, which most of the time that you can't, because they don't let their fighters fight outside of their ecosystem. And you have guys like Teo wanting to fight, but they can't get the fights. So they're contractually obligated to get them fights. So they go for the best available that they can afford and still pay Teo's salary. So they know that they're going to, I mean, they have a certain amount of money annually, and it's a good amount of money that they get from ESPN. And that's how they're still able to put fights on on a streaming platform without a pay-per-view, right? So they're pretty much, um, their level of fights we're getting at a non-pay-per-view, whereas everyone else is giving pay-per-view. That you have to buy a pay-per-view, but they can do it because they have ESPN money. But still, there's a limit to how much they could pay each fighter if they're not going to generate enough money at the gate, and if they're not going to generate enough money from international sales. So there's all kinds of aspects of which they make money, and if they're not putting them in, people want to watch the big fights, and if they're not able to get the big fights because the other promoters aren't crossing over, well, then what do? You got to get them a fight. So that's what we got. We got that fight, and it was. It's not what we wanted as fight fans. We want to see Teo fight the big dogs in his division, and unfortunately, he's got to wait his turn. I would love to. We would all love to see him fight Haney, and we lost you again. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see him fight Haney for a while now. Nobody's watching. Nobody's.
You're on mute right now.
All right, you there?
There we go. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. Hey, thanks for all your insight today, man. Thanks for all the help. We'll get this thing going. Keep it organic. First time, it's all good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I applaud the effort to get it up and going, man. Seriously, I think you keep going with it. You've always had the gift of talking, so this is the perfect platform for you. And then your knowledge with boxing and all the connections you have to be able to help bring on people who are knowledgeable in the sport of boxing. It would have been cool. I was definitely interested in hearing Dale talk. It's too bad that he had to train tonight, but I would love to hear what he has to say about boxing and weight training, because I know fighters are doing it now. Like, I know Terrence Crawford was weight training before he went into camp for is it Earl Spence. He was over at the UFC weight training there, and so it's definitely a thing. Like, it's gonna be a mandatory thing going forward that fighters are gonna have to weight train. So I would love to hear it, because I mean, I worked with trainers just for fun, and everybody says, everyone, don't weightlift, stop weightlifting, don't wait, because that was the old school way. But to find out that there's a new school way to do it, I think that's really cool. I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, I could attest to that too. Or I guess maybe contrasted in a way because I came from weightlifting before I boxed. I used to, I was pretty good size. I looked in shape, but that's not boxing shape. But anyway, it was hard for me to let the weights go. I thought the weights would help. But when I finally let them go is that's when I started getting dangerous because everything becomes real snappy on a punch. And it's that shock that knocks people out. It's that flash, if you could get it, you can hit them at the right time. But what I learned is if you use the weights the right way early, you can maintain that strength throughout. And not only that, it's not only the strength. Well, common strength and conditioning sounds like that just sounds cliche, strength and conditioning. Well, you actually strengthen the muscle and then you condition the muscle. And in boxing, everyone knows conditioning is huge. You could have someone in there with way less skill, but a lot more conditioning. And most of the time, if he's tough enough, I could rock with that guy,
Yeah.
So
yeah, he can go into
man,
the
it was a yeah, for sure. That's where he plays. He plays in the deep waters. But yeah, for sure, man. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. And anybody who was watching, like, comment, subscribe. I want to thank Armando for helping me out, giving me this little opportunity, showing me the game a little bit, and I'll definitely follow up with some better quality here. You've seen the handle up there, Super Torres 1 on Instagram, regular Simon Torres on Facebook, and Simon Says Boxing on YouTube. Also follow Armando's page too. It is Global Sports Streaming on Instagram, right?
Yeah, it's GS Streaming. So the short name for my company is GSS, but it's Global Sports Streaming, and then it's GS Streaming at Instagram, on Facebook, at YouTube, and then I also have the second channel, which is the Best in Boxing show, which is best_in_boxing, which was the show that you fought on several times. That show has been in hiatus ever since Chavez Jr. fought Anderson Silva, which my company put on. But it's not. I'm actually working on some stuff right now. I stepped away from boxing after Anderson Silva, Chavez Jr. because I was pissed off at boxing after that fight, and I needed a break. And so now I have the doors opening back up, so I'm casually walking through them to see what's up, because I've been getting calls again for people wanting to help live streaming. So we'll see. But the reason I say best_in_boxing is because I'm blown away by how many people keep on subscribing, because we have over 250 fights on YouTube, and there's a ton of fights on there, and people keep subscribing because they want to watch the boxing and all your fights on YouTube. So it's pretty cool. So we'll see. We'll keep it going, possibly.
Well, there it is. Looks like we're signing off, Armando.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, everybody.
It.
Hey, we'll talk soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on.
All right, brother.
Yeah, I'll definitely help you get this off the ground. Looking forward to it. All right.
All right. Sounds good, man. You be cool. Keep doing your thing.
All right. You too.
All right.
Okay.